Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of one band. If you've never listened to this podcast before, we do always talk about one band, and that band is Dave Matthews Band. With this band celebrating its 35th anniversary this year in 2026, there have been so many fans that have found this music and love this music, all ages, from all over the world. And so there are plenty of fan stories. Each episode is a different fan telling us their journey of why they listen to Dave Matthews Band. So if you don't like one, you can skip to the next because it's completely different. There's almost 200 episodes, and that means 200 fans have come forward to share their DMB journey. If you're interested, you can email the show. It's simply Renae at the Space Between Podcast, DMB.com. And of course, follow us on all of the socials so you can see where the show's going to be next, who's going to be on the show, where is the show going to be, because if you don't know this yet, I travel a lot. So I travel a lot, of course, to DMB shows, but then like half the other time is Dave Matthews Band related music. I spend half of my time going to see Dave Matthews Band and the other half of the time going to see the Dave Matthews Tribute Band. So, of course, this week is Dave Matthews Tribute Band week. And so each day, a member of the band will be giving you some behind the scene moments and just why they choose to do this. And so, of course, another day with another member from DMTB, we have Tim. Tim, I just thank you so much for being on the show. Tell us where you live and something about you.
I live in Buffalo, New York. Lovely Buffalo, New York. Something about me. I enjoy whiskey and cats. And bass
Whiskey
guitar.
and cats. Do you have a favorite whiskey?
Not really, but this one's pretty good.
I can barely see. What kind is it?
A Basil Hayden red wine cask finish.
Yes, Basil Hayden. Familiar. You know, I don't know if you or any of the listeners that are listening to this know, but I have actually done 2 shows. I think they were back in 2023, really just about different bourbons. We had several men on the show, and they were all doing different bourbons and really kind of just talking about bourbon and whiskey and rye whiskey and all the things that, of course, we hear in the songs of Dave Matthews Band. So if you haven't checked that out, rewind all the way back to 2023 and you'll find those 2 episodes. They're a lot of fun for our whiskey drinkers. And of course, if you're not familiar, there is DMB Big Whiskeys, which is a group on Facebook, and all they do is talk about bourbon and whiskey, and they have its barrels made for this group. And so if you're into it, guys, totally check out those 2 things. So Tim, you like bourbon, you like cats. So I'm going to guess that you have cats.
I just one at present.
Yes.
She's quite old, so we don't want to rock her world with a kitten.
No, I completely understand. Cats are so much fun, and they're so much different than dogs, just everything about them. And so it's fun. My son has a cat, and so when he comes home for a holiday or a weekend, he brings his cat, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it's so different than dogs, but I love them now. And so I can see where that's a lot of fun. So guys, if you don't know, Tim actually plays the bass for DMTB. So let's rewind time. How in the world, Tim, did you get hooked up with even thinking about being in DMTB?
I've always been a professional musician in a multitude of contexts, and I just got a call that it was 2018. There was 2 shows. One was State College, Pennsylvania, and the other was somewhere in Connecticut. I can't remember where. And it was just this one-off thing. I didn't know any of the music at all. Like, I was familiar with some hits and such, but I literally had to, at that point, in short order, learn 2 sets of music in about a month.
Yes.
we're a lot more organized than that now, but back then things were kind of loose.
Well, and things are going really well. I mean, you're in the groove, you know. Take us back. Like, how did you learn to play the bass? Like, why did you want to? Were there some people in front of you that were like playing it and you were just you were like, oh, this is really interesting. I want to do this. Tell us the story of how you came to play the bass.
I want to say it was chance, and this is probably of interest to no one but me. But like, I remember when I first saw a bass guitar, and it was my aunt's wedding, and I was a tyke, and this is the first time I ever saw live music, and I sat in a chair at the back of the dance floor, staring, just in awe of what was happening. Like, I was absolutely fascinated by what was happening. Not necessarily a musical family, so there was no, like, instruments around or anything like that. Many years later, I just started playing in the school band. So I played saxophone for through the whole school band experience from, like,
Yeah.
late elementary school up through high school. And around I think when I was 13, there was a guitar player and a drummer that were looking for a bass player, and for some reason, I really wanted to do that. Now, we didn't have any money, and it was not really of interest to us, to my family, that I get a bass guitar, but somehow my father talked my mom into it, that I was going to get this, and that's kind of an isolated thing. That's not a thing that I would have expected in hindsight, him going to bat for a bass guitar, but
Right, right.
somehow it happened, and that's what I did from then on. Like, that was, like, so yeah, no, it was just sort of a kind of odd chance, and it was a Sears catalog bass guitar. It was not anything of quality, but I figured some things out, and we went from there.
Well, back then, Sears was the shit, right? Like, I remember getting this
Just
catalog,
saying
like,
Sears,
this
I'm
big.
dating
Well,
myself.
no, I mean, Sears, they're not around anymore, but if you're not familiar, Google it. Honestly, I loved Sears. You could get your engines to, like, fixed and go get a T-shirt. Like, what did you need? You could get it all done at Sears. Sears was fancy back then, let us not forget. Were you completely self-taught?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had had the school band experience, so I wasn't illiterate, and I did have some competent instructors along the way. It wasn't I was sort of, well, I still am sort of obsessive about things like that I'm interested in. While being self-taught, like, I started going to there were some jazz camps and such for students in the region of Wisconsin where I grew up that I would attend, and I would basically learn everything I had to learn that year intellectually, even though I couldn't apply it. And then I would go home and make damn sure by the next time I was back there that everything I got wind of, I
Yes.
understood when I went back. So I attended that for several years when I was a student, and there's a lot of great jazz teachers in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area where I grew up. So I kind of was I owe what I know to them, but it wasn't like I had lessons routinely.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It was just sort of I had this exposure to these people that knew what things I didn't, and I was maybe a little bothered by that.
Yeah.
So I tried to learn everything I could. That was kind of how, my early development went.
Right. So professionally, what did you go on to do? You know, it sounds like you went into a small band and then how did it continue
Well,
to grow?
I went to college for music.
You literally
Doing
that
that, I
might be
just
how.
started. Yeah, and then I started playing with various people, and I've played in a symphony orchestra. I've played in professionally. I've played in pit orchestras for Broadway shows. I've played in, like, tons of different musical settings. Ironically, this is the type of thing I've done least till I started doing this. Like, the most of the performances that I was doing were on the commercial music side, where there would be things like that. Like,
Right. So then you get a phone call and you're like, Dave Matthews tribute band. Like you said, you were familiar, but not like know every song, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
honestly
Well,
very normal.
I liked and respected Dave Matthews Band. It's not that at all. It was I'm as old as they are. So Stefan Lessard is 1 year older than me, I believe. So if you do the math, like they had, like, Under the Table and Dreaming was out when I was in high school. I had it, but then I went to college for music, and then you're kind of, when you're in that world, you listen to what you have to listen to get through your classes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's room to listen to other stuff, of course, but like
Of
generally speaking,
course.
your studies are so I was doing that through DMB's heyday. And it's not that I didn't hear them. I was in bars, I was in places where it
Of
was being
course.
played. So I was familiar, but I wasn't like, if I hadn't gone down that path, I assume I would have been much more familiar, just
Hmm.
because if I had been, studying accounting, I'm sure I would have had music on in the background and it wouldn't have
Of
been
course.
a Mahler symphony,
Right. I
like
mean, you
that's.
never know. You never know. So give us a little bit of background on maybe some other responsibilities, not only playing bass for DMTB, but are there other areas within the band that you kind of help out? I mean, we know that you guys are still like helping to load, all the things for setup.
More often than not, we do all of the pushing and setting up. Sure, I do. I guess I have the titles production manager. I do all of the production advance, meaning I get in touch with all of the venues and work with production staff to make sure that Gary's preferred beer is in the green room, and that they know how much space we need and what we need on the stage and what supports we need, which technical resources we need. Make sure they have everything they need. It's like if they have a display screen, that to make sure that they have the correct logo to put on it. And I handle all of the minutia, making sure we know when to show up, where to show up, and make sure when we do show up, they know what to expect on their side and what we're doing. I just maintain a extensive spreadsheet that keeps track of all of that stuff. And yeah, I feel like I still have an office job sometimes, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's a lot when we get busy. It's another hour or two a day on the road, and at home sometimes it's significantly more, because I try to do as much as I can when we're home, so I don't have to do that stuff on the road. It's hard to get
Right.
up early when you're in a hotel and go in the lobby and start working. Now we are traveling everywhere all the time, and I honestly like it. I mean, aside from being away from home, I enjoy it in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys are really expanding on the places. I know for 2026, you guys are going to California. You're making the drive. Are you excited about driving across the United States? Is that something that you've done before?
I have never driven across the entire United States, and that's going to be a fun one. We have one trip where we have a gig near LA. I don't remember where. And then 5 days later, we have a gig in Delaware. So it's
I
literally 8 hours a day across the entire country, which should be interesting, to say the least. I
wow.
don't know what
Yeah.
to
There's
expect for that,
no
but
time for sleeping. You got to drive, drive, drive because you have to be there. There's no question.
we have professional obligations.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So being on the road, I know, of course, must be hard for the family, hard for your wife, hard for your cat that never gets to see you anymore. But I know that there's a lot of fun, like you said, out on the road, just getting to know people, getting to know the fans, getting down. I know, was that part of it new for you, having to, like, I guess, kind of discuss things with people that have come to listen to you, or has that been part of your past as well?
You know, I this extent, it kind of surprises me. The way I look at this, the Dave Matthews Band has fans. We are sort of taking the role of being the biggest cheerleader in the room when we play a show. I think it would be kind of hard to say that people are fans of ours. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing
Hmm.
we do that is, other than filling a hole for Dave Matthews music. So that's kind of how I look at it. In terms of the level of enthusiasm, yeah, I don't know that I would have expected that necessarily. It's fun though, and it is fun to meet people. It can be a little interesting in that I'm sometimes shocked to find out that people I haven't met, like, know things about me that I wouldn't expect. Like, they'll see things like this, or maybe we're Facebook friends or something,
Right.
and they'll approach me and be like, "Yeah, I know 12 people that you know, and this and that." And I'm like 12, huh? Like, I don't know how that really happened. Um, it's an interesting thing. People will approach me and tell me their very personal things because somehow, and I don't mind this at all. It's surprising to me because people have a relationship with this music and the band, and that transfers in some ways to us personally, which, I guess I look at it as a responsibility now more than anything else,
I can see
to
where it would feel that
not
way.
disappoint. It reminds me when I was a young man, I had a older friend who had a very successful business, and he had a '60s Mercedes limo, and he would pay a driver in Wisconsin, and he would invite a half a dozen people, and we'd go to his limo, and we'd do a quote tiny tavern tour in rural Wisconsin, just stopping at these little tiny taverns, which are everywhere in that state. And one time he did this, he dressed up as a priest just for fun, and he made a whole backstory. And we were in these tiny taverns, and all of a sudden, everywhere he went, he was hearing confessions. Because people started, it's German Catholic Wisconsin. And he was just, he did this for fun, but he did not abuse it. He was very, very kind to these people. But in some ways, it's reminiscent of that, and that
Right. I
people,
get that.
people carry
They're
on
gonna
these relationships with us that are much more serious than you would expect, given that I've never met them. Formally, I find it fascinating, and I love all these people. Like, I've never met like a straight up jerk in this community. Do you know what I mean? Like, this
no,
is
no.
a very cool, chill group of folks. So it's
Right.
working out great. It's just, yeah, it's just an interesting phenomenon. So I mentioned that only as just an observation that, it can be a little bit like, well, that was peculiar when you sit back and think about what just
Right.
happened.
Right, exactly. So, did you know about the fan base of DMB before you got into DMTB? Were you aware of like how hungry and passionate these fans are?
I was not. I so from my perspective at the time, so again, I had the first two records. I knew how big they were then. Um, I had friends that were into them to various degrees and such. But that was back in the '90s. Um, by the 2000s, around that time, I moved to Buffalo. I met my wife, bought a house, and did all these things, and was musically doing, just various projects that became available to me. And it was kind of off of my radar entirely. So when I was offered to do those first two jobs, to be honest, didn't even realize at that time, in my own ignorance, that DMB was still touring stadiums. Like, you could have told me that they were broke up or playing clubs,
Of
or,
course.
what I mean? And it wasn't
Yeah.
that I didn't care. It was just kind of fell off of my radar just based on,
Right, right.
because I was into jazz music. I was into a different thing.
Mhm.
Just which I don't, I should say this, I had someone, I told someone was asking me about how many DMB shows we all saw. And of course, my count is by far the lowest. And, and they kind of accused me of being like a faker, or like I was pretending. And I was like, I don't know. I think I can play this music pretty well. Like, I didn't know that was like how many shows I went to had an impact on, my ability
It
to
doesn't.
understand and play this music.
It doesn't.
But like, so someone, I felt really bad because I was like, maybe I'm, yeah, a little imposter syndrome, maybe and maybe that fed in a little bit, but it was just a kind of a crazy thing. Like, I don't, I have a tremendous respect for this music, and I enjoy playing it. And I'm continually learning more of it. So it's been a great experience for me. It's kind of different when you're a professional musician and just trying to get, I mean, name of someone in business who isn't chasing money on some level. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so, um, I got this wonderful opportunity and meeting these wonderful people and getting to play this wonderful music. And it was all sort of through luck.
Right.
So I'm very, very thankful for that. My journey wasn't that of like the super fan who was trying to do everything Stefan Lassard did. Like I said, we're the same age. Me and Stefan Lassard probably had the same records.
Yeah. Yeah.
we listened to the same stuff. So my journey was a little different.
And that's okay.
Elf.
Okay, so traveling with these guys, we know you like to travel, but there's a whole solid group of men that are traveling with you. You share your ride, your hotels, your all of these things. And so was there a period of time that it just took for you to get used to traveling with these guys and kind of being around them 24/7? Was that something that was new for you?
Well, certainly sharing space like that. I mean, like it's and you know, we're not immune to like getting on each other's nerves. That's, I mean, uh, try to
It's
imagine
life.
spending like I literally have spent more time with David Sirianni than I have with my wife in the last year. And it has to do with the fact that we're both based out of Buffalo, which is where the van is. So generally it's him and I driving somewhere for the first show and back after the last show. Whereas oftentimes Noah down in Florida and Gary in Rhode Island are flying home. So it's an interesting thing. Like obviously people are going to get on each other's nerves, but I don't feel like I have too much trouble just kind of, you know, you learn where other people's sensitivities are, and you learn how to get along. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
this could be a lot worse than it is. I mean, this works. We have a group of guys that it's been very easy to travel with. There's not a lot of, I mean, you've come out with us for a little bit. Like it's not, it doesn't, extremely rare has it ever gotten uncomfortable or,
Right.
you know,
I think
it's
everyone
generally,
can
we have a lot of
tell.
fun.
Everyone can tell, and I've just from listening to so many people talk about you guys, and then, of course, from me just being there observing you guys, it really does it would surprise no one if you all said, "We're just, like, best friends," because that's the vibe that y'all give off is, not only when you're on the stage, but just out and about, you guys are just nice, and so I think that that is a great thing that you've got a big group of men who are really easy to get along with and are genuinely nice as well.
Yeah, we're all boys for sure. Like I think it's the type of thing where it is a family type relationship where if you know, we could be really upset at each other, but if someone else from outside the circle tried to mess with that same person you're really mad with, you'd be standing in between them very quick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that
Yes.
sort of relationship. We're very much like a slightly dysfunctional family.
Oh, well, we get that. Okay, so I got one more
Well,
question for you,
I
and I've asked this to every guy.
sure.
If I were to walk into your home or getting to your car right now, what would be playing? What are you really into right now? Of course, we all listen to other music. Most of us listen to other music. What's your jam?
So I probably have the most avant-garde tastes of the band, but lately I have been listening to a group called Forager, in all caps, Forager, Forager. And they have some peculiar little pop tunes that are unusual, to say the least, but not in any way like hard to listen to. Like it's not like, so right now that's what I'm listening to. I just
How did
finished
you find
my,
them?
I think I found them somehow on social media, and it was like some song. It was like an ad, and it was a song off their album that's going to be coming out soon called Pomeranian. And that song was so neat. So it's a song called Pomeranian by Forager. Check it out.
Okay, I will.
It
That'll be
has
easy to
my
remember.
seal of approval. Prior to that, I went through a deep dive on Jeff Beck's career because he had died, and I just kind of was like, I only should have listened to him more. I don't know. I I like a lot of jazz. I like a lot of, it's funny. We'll bring us back to DMB. What I believe to be true is the reason I was able to just slip in and start playing these DMB songs without a lot of work is that they use the same vocabulary that I use from that I learned from the jazz world.
Mhm.
And it's funny, that's not necessarily true of all the other guys. A lot of the in the band, like a lot of the guys in the band listen to DMB so much that they've absorbed it as DMB vocabulary. I think that I learned a lot of the same vocabulary from the same sources that the guys in DMB may have. Maybe as a result of being older, maybe as a result of studying jazz like I had. it could have just been, so a lot of that seemed very second nature to me, like, oh, it's that thing. You know what I mean? Like this was
Right.
the musical vocabulary I'm using, like we would use vocabulary in words. Like there are certain sounds and combinations of sounds that you begin to recognize as patterns, and they're using patterns that I knew. You know what I mean? Those are,
Yes.
um,
It makes total
so
sense.
I think that's kind of why this works for me so well, is that it's not unfamiliar in any way. Like I haven't listened to a DMB song and was just like, one eyebrow raised, like, what's the, like, it doesn't happen that way. It's more, I kind of recognize the roots of it. And again, I'm old, so I heard a lot of the stuff that they heard. So that was, I think, helpful as well.
So one more question, and I keep saying that, but I just keep thinking of things. Just strictly from a playing the bass standpoint, what's your favorite DMB song to play?
Right now, this one, that changes.
Yes.
So for a while, I really liked, like the first time I did it, like 5 years ago, there's that part in Dreaming Tree where I just thought it was neat and it's fun. And it's kind of a little finger twister on bass. So it was interesting. Of late, I've been really digging Captain. There's the bass parts in Captain. Like there's all these like little
Wow.
things happening on the bass in that song that I was
A
just sort
lot.
of enjoying playing. But it's like
It is.
there are little parts of that song, or not little parts, but just it's kind of unusual for Stefan to play so much, and it makes it's and so for me, that's kind of fun to not to necessarily play more notes for the sake of, but it's like we were talking about musical vocabulary. It's like a little different musical vocabulary than what he
Gotcha.
generally
Yeah.
plays. And that,
Yeah.
and when you've, playing 140 shows a year of his music, those songs that are a little different can be the ones that break up the repetitive nature of that.
Yeah, yeah. There's always a favorite out there for everyone to play, and I've asked that to each of the guys. So again, this is DMTB week. So you've listened to today's. Congratulations. We've gotten to know Tim, which is the basis for DMTB, and so every day this week, if you've missed a few, they're still live. You're going to get to know each person that makes up DMTB, and it includes a few behind the scenes people. So we'll see how much you know about DMTB. Tim, I can't thank you enough for just saying yes, although I really want to say you didn't have much of a choice, did you, to come on the show? I think that was decided.
Well, I didn't necessarily volunteer to be on the show, but like if you had asked me, I always would have said yes, because you have done so much for us, Renae, and that is very much appreciated. And I recognize, one, how kind that is, and two, how valuable that is to us to have outspoken advocates out there in the DMV communities.
Well, of course, we couldn't have done it without you. We wanted everyone to get a grip on, like, hey, who are these guys in DMTB? Because you guys are really making a plunge in the water. You are, like I said earlier, you're going from coast to coast with the band. You guys are really growing. And so, of course, with that, more attention is on you guys, and people start asking those questions. Who are these guys? And so now, hopefully, we could shed, a little insight for everybody on who makes DMTB. So again, thank you so much for being willing. Guys, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can also watch this on YouTube. It's simply just find the Space Between Podcast channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so every time something is uploaded, you will know. If you're watching this on a podcast app, be sure to leave a review. You can leave 5 stars, write a review. You don't have to write a review, but that really helps push out the podcast to similar listeners of similar genre in the podcasting world. So be sure to do those 2 things for me. Again, if you're interested in being on the show, all you have to do is email me. It's simply under Renae at the Space Between Podcast, DMB.com. And we've got more fun this week. So stay tuned, guys. I've got a show for you every day of this week, which is something I don't normally do. So I'm excited to be doing this with DMTB. Next month, I will be back with DMTB in Florida. So excited to get to follow them a little bit. And of course, I'm going to get all the content, right? So I'm gonna Tim, I'm going to be asking you more questions in February. So that's official. That's what's happening. Get ready.
Okay. I'll
All
be fine. Thank you so much,
right,
Renae.
guys. Yes, you're so welcome, guys. Until the next time, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.